Hi! Something strange happened the other day. Yesterday. We all went to the park, including my mother. She even got out of the car and walked around. Nobody took a chair for her, so she went back to sit down in the car. But the kids played catch with a ball. The spouse walked around. And time flew because it was only 1 hour. Because nobody was ready and nobody was ready. They weren't ready. My dog and I, we left. We got there earlier. About 20 minutes earlier. Because they wouldn't let me leave. They wouldn't let me leave because they wanted me to go in the car with them. But I don't like going in the car with them. I have to sit all the way in the back of the minivan. Because the kids, they don't like to give up their seats. Then the spouse is driving. The mother, my mother is in the front seat. And there's never enough air conditioning for me in the car, in the front seat, and there's never enough in the back either. So I rode my bicycle with the dog pulling me. But then I had to hear the spouse and the mother saying that the dog shouldn't be pulling me. But I tell them the dog enjoys it. She only pulls me, 15 minutes, and then we sit down and rest. They told me my shorts were dirty in the back, but I use them every day when I go to the park. I got other shorts, but I gotta find them. Probably in the garage. Oh, what's happening now is I gotta move out of this room because the spouse wants to rent it again. But this time we're gonna ask for less money because the people that call and come, it's small. They say it's small. They don't say that. They just say they'll. One of them said, "There's no stove." And then we said we could put a little one burner on it. He said, "Well, it still doesn't have an oven," and he likes to use the oven. Another one said he was going to bring his girlfriend over here so that she could look at it, but he never brought her. What else is going on? So what I liked about the park yesterday was I finally got the spouse to say that she would practice Tai Chi Chuan with me, sparring. Because when we do the exercises, her bones don't crack, and mine do. And she gets bored with them, so she's a fast exerciser, fast twitch muscles. So at least she went to the park. She said she would do it twice a week. And she also sparred with me 5 minutes because she was too tired. She didn't last the 10 minutes. I was being gentle. Then I did tell her that the technique I'm using for sparring was Wing Chun. Chain link punches, one after another, after another, after another, after another. And she was doing this swat like this. She did pretty good. Of course, I went slowly so I wouldn't hit her. And the technique that I'm talking about, though, is that there was this Japanese conductor or teacher for classical music. And he said that he could grab any 4-year-old kid that's normal and teach him to play musical instruments. And the technique he used, which is the technique I'm using, is the 4-year-old child has to see the mother playing the violin, for instance. Right? I've got the other hand here. For 1 week. And then the child can come in and see the teacher, and the mother will be sitting next to the child, or perhaps that she's not in the room anymore, I'm not sure. But the musical teacher teaches the 4-year-old child to play that instrument, and that child in 1 year is an expert. So what else happened? What I'm getting at is that my daughter has to see my wife practicing Tai Chi with me. Otherwise, my daughter is not going to want to do it. She is on the honor roll for grades. And the other day, the first time this year that she did go to the park with me and she sparred with me, we're supposed to last 15 minutes because I take the Ipod and I time it. And she lasted maybe 40 seconds because since she's big and strong, she thinks that being a tiger, when a tiger attacks, I heard that they come straight for you, which is different from a leopard. A leopard attacks you from the side or at some angle, even from behind. And when the daughter came at me, I engaged, blocking left, blocking right, and all I did was put my palm up in front of her face, and she walked into it. Then I walked away and I told her to breathe out because, well, the purpose of sparring is not to hurt anyone. It's to train them. But there's no way they're going to practice like I used to practice, which was I throw 10 punches, you block. I throw another 10 punches, you block with my other hand, right? And then you throw 10 punches, I block. Then you throw 10 punches, I block with the other hand. And do that for an hour. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do the exercises where you have to hold the elbow at a certain degree just below your eyes, and they're not going to do any of those body alignment things. They find those things super boring. I tell them the Tai Chi Chuan uses much geometry, straight lines, circles, and so on. I tell them how to walk. Now that one I did teach my son. Pick up the foot like a bird, put it down, pick it up again, put it down. Next step, transfer the weight, then the next step. So we only sparred for 40 seconds maybe. And that's at the most. Then she didn't continue. Then I walked away because every time she looked at me, she wanted to cry. But if I walked away and gave her my back, she wouldn't cry. That one I learned from Tony Robbins because he mentioned that every time he saw his spouse, he would get angry at looking at her face, and she would get angry at looking at his face. And so they would walk away, and then when they were not angry, when they would come back and they'd see each other's face, they'd get angry again. And then he noticed that it was the face looking at each other. So when she was about to cry and so on, but what happened is she was concentrating on her hands and not on me. So this time I told her yesterday, we have to practice real slow. And I would punch and she would get out of it. And of course, there's a lot of tangling where you tangle their hands and arms. And I got her one time very slowly, right? But then she gave me an elbow, which was good because even though it was after mine would have arrived first because it was my hand. But then she moved it out of the way with her elbow and gave me an elbow, which was interesting. Because I didn't think she had that skill yet. Well, yesterday the daughter lasted 5 minutes, the spouse 5 minutes. And then my son, of course, he wanted to practice. So the daughter didn't want to do any more. So like we did 5 minutes. I didn't take the timer. I took the Ipod, but it wasn't charged. Oops. So then it was still daylight, but a little bat started flying. It was cute. And it was flying over us. And then it flew farther away. And then my son started chasing it. Then the spouse saying, let's go home and let's chase my son because the bat could come down and drink his blood. And then the spouse said that it was getting dark and so that ended our our day at the park. What does a vampire, what kind of omen is this? What is God trying to tell us? That there's the first bat. I've been going there every day. And the one day that the spouse goes, a bat shows up. I didn't even think about taking pictures because I blocked myself that the iPod had a short battery. It was a fun day. No one got hurt yesterday. The spouse, she agreed that the kids have to go to the park. One good thing she did, she went to the swimming pool today. And I don't go. The Mormons came by and said, how come you don't go anywhere with your family? And I told them that in the car, the kids start arguing, or the spouse or the mother says something to me negative. There's no air conditioning for me in the backpack. When we get to the park or wherever we go and that's farther away, that has water, farther away from the house. One time it began raining and I was lying down next to my mom. I got up. Then my mother couldn't get up. So I started laughing. And then, of course, that didn't go too well. Then two men, I think it was a father and son, they helped her. Well, the thing is, if you don't exercise, your body's going to be your enemy. I mean, I sleep all day here, but I still go do a little bit of exercise. I mean, I go to the park, ride my bicycle. I do have to pedal sometimes, the dog, sometimes she doesn't pull me, so I have to pedal. So I told them I don't go, but then they, what's happened, I used to go to the swimming pool with her, because I like it, but two things are wrong. One, it's the water's cold. It's during the hot sun. There's no shade on top of the pool. 3, the spouse, when I go, all she does is to go look like a magazine model, where she just sits there. She has her hat. She has her glasses. She has her suntan lotion. She has her swimsuit. But she won't go into the water because she doesn't know how to swim. And so I got to spend all my time in the water, playing with my kids, which I enjoy, but then at the same time, she's not she's not learning to swim, which is one of my goals, and she's not. It's like she's there, but she's really not there. And like right now, they just had, and they invited me. She knocked on my window, and I went over there. They had Chinese food, but I don't eat pork. So all of them are eating pork. I'm like, oh man. Jesus. Then I told them Jesus was really something because his disciples didn't wash their hands before eating. And I imagine that maybe he had disciples that ate pork. I don't know. Did Jesus have any Gentile disciples at that time? Well, either way, even if he didn't, he hung out with prostitutes, which is in the book of Proverbs. Don't hang out with prostitutes, I think it says. I mean, something like that. All right. Enjoy your life. Be better than I am.